I am sick of the Byzantines ruining every campaign I have ever done, every stupid time lapse, everything. So you know what I've done? I've gotten rid of the Byzantines. I destroyed the Byzantines. They are out of here. Absolutely garbage dead. Yeah, you were like, why didn't you just get rid of them completely? I didn't want to get rid of them completely. I want them to die. I want to watch them die in front of my eyes. But what I did was I actually made them not even Greek. They're not even Greek anymore. I gave it to another person from the Bulgarian Empire. So these really aren't even the Byzantines. So they really are dead. And I just had to make sure. They look weak, right? I had to make sure they were weak. So they have a 17-year-old ruler, and I gave him a negative 20,000 gold, negative 5,500 piety, prestige, and negative 6,000 piety. I wanted him absolutely destroyed. So I also changed their borders a lot too. I pretty much gutted them. I gave all their neighbors all their land. I thought these guys deserved some land, so I gave them some land down here. So the Byzantines are destroyed. So this is going to be a campaign, maybe the first campaign ever, where the Byzantines are gone and they won't win. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment what else you want me to do. And let's see what happens if the Byzantines are destroyed. All I gotta say is it's not pretty. It's all ugly every year. The biggest thing is the Byzantines are actually completely gone now. A couple of these nations are Greek and have got their independence from other nations. So there are a couple Greek nations in here. So the Byzantines are completely dead. I think this might be one of the couple Greek nations here. Athens is here, which I think is cool. But it's a ton of border gore everywhere. But this is usually what happens for the earlier start date up here in England and Norway and Scandinavia. Is usually border gore. The biggest thing that's really happened is West Francia ate some land, and then after that they split between Aquitaine and West Francia. So that's the biggest thing that's really happened. Usually West Francia stays pretty strong, but now Aquitaine is here. But Abbasid actually hasn't been expanding as much as I thought they would. I thought they really would be expanding, but they're actually like kind of getting attacked a lot. So I think that we might actually see Abbasid not do too well, and we might have like one of these nations do better. And then Bulgaria is also blowing up, and Bulgaria usually blows up. That's something that usually happens in the game. It's pretty normal. But it's a lot of border gore. This is what usually you see early in this game. Around the year 1000 it starts to look a little better, but for a while there's going to be a ton of border gore. But so far the Byzantines have been destroyed. They're gone, and I don't think they're coming back. Well, West Francia was coming back. They were actually expanding pretty far into Italy, and then they decided to blow up, and now the Burgundy also came out of West Francia. So West Francia I think might actually be out of this game, which is something pretty rare. Usually we see some sort of Francia or France nation, but they actually might not be in here, which is kind of cool. Italy is doing really good. Usually you don't see an Italian nation do good. Bavaria is starting to break out too. Hungary's forming as well. Bulgaria is now just kind of Hoi 4 Bulgaria. They're missing a little bit of land, but they kind of look like the Hoi 4 Bulgaria, so it's not too bad. And then this confederation is actually doing really good. They're expanding a lot. But the Arabian Empire is really starting to break out. They're doing really good. They're actually pretty weak though for the amount of territory they have. So they may actually lose some wars coming soon to some nations nearby. So they might be losing some land, but they look really good borders. These guys are getting beat back a little bit too. They're not very powerful. Sweden's doing really good, which is good to see. Sweden might unite Scandinavia, don't know. Alba's doing really good. Usually Alba doesn't do this good. They're like the old Scotland, but they're doing really good. And then besides that, not too much else is happening. I don't really cover these nations because they usually go back and forth, but there is Oo. Oo is here, and I love Oo. They're the best. Delete that from the video, please. But yeah, everything's pretty normal, and Lithuania and Estonia are doing pretty good. They usually don't do too good. Well, we're 1,000 years in, and it's pretty interesting. I have to say that it is very dangerous with this Arabian Empire down here. They're falling apart a little bit, but they're also still very powerful. They could really take advantage of whatever this mess where the Byzantines usually are. I do have to say the Byzantines are officially gone. This is the closest to the Byzantines left. They're a Greek nation, but I don't really think they're going to be much of a threat. Bavaria is doing very good. Hungary is also doing pretty good. Sweden is doing very good. I have a feeling Sweden is just going to keep on steamrolling. They usually eventually plateau because they get a lot of bonus troops for the invasions. But Alba is doing really good. Alba could be close to uniting the entire islands, British islands, which I've never seen them actually do that, so that'd be really cool. I do have to shout out this African nation here. They're doing pretty good down here. Same with this African nation. The African nations don't usually do this good, but there's actually some African nations that are doing really good. So hopefully you see some united African nation. That usually doesn't happen. Aquitaine's also doing really good. Usually they don't do this bad in the peninsula, the Islamic nations. So the Islamic nations are already struggling way early. So they might get kicked out pretty soon. This is just a big mess here. I really like Bavaria and Italy. I think they might do really good in this video. These guys are not going to do too good, I don't think. They just are sandwiched in the middle, so we'll get wars from every side. But so far, it's kind of no big deal for anything. I don't think there's any breakout stars besides the Arabian Empire. They're doing really good, and that's because there's the lack of the Byzantines. Which should be what happens, but Lithuania is also maybe... Lithuania, Estonia usually don't do this good, so maybe they're the breakout, and Sweden's just doing good because this is the time period they usually do good. So the Arabian Empire, they're doing really good. They've actually consolidated a lot more, but I have to say, these African empires are doing really good. The Sahara and Sao. The Sao is doing really good. These red African countries doing good as well. A lot of African countries are doing really good, and I don't know if they're going to have an impact later in the game, but usually they're not as this unified. They do usually tend to break apart a lot because of their inheritance laws. They usually don't do it. It's because of their government type. This is still a mess here. Hungary really was unified, and now they're absolutely blowing up. Hungary is like dead, so I'm thinking Bavaria is going to gobble a whole bunch of stuff up, but they're also having problems. Alba is doing amazing. They're getting really close to getting Britannia, and if they do that, they're gonna rock it. They're doing good. Sweden kind of fell. They blew up a lot. Aquitaine is doing really good. I really like how Aquitaine's doing. They might be the new Francia in France. But besides that, there's no breakout stores. There actually is very big countries out here, but the big reason why I don't cover them is because they're tribal. They tend to break apart a lot. They don't stay united. I really do like White Rus and Vladimir. White Rus is doing really good. They could maybe form Europe if they like conquer Vladimir, and that'd be pretty cool. I know I have a decent amount of Russian viewers, so maybe Vladimir Putin make Russia? Sorry, that probably offended you. I'm really sorry. So the Arabian Empire is still doing really good, but now what's happening is there's going to be a whole bunch of crusades against them now that the Catholic nations are becoming more powerful. Like, they're pretty outnumbered in this crusade. So they're going to start taking some beatings because when they lose crusades, they lose some land from the crusade, but they're also really weak from their neighbors. So we might see them start to take some damage. I also got to say Aquitaine is still doing very good. Alba completely fell apart, which I'm really sad about. They were doing so good, but they just had a bad leader and fell apart. Sweden's taking it back a little bit, so that's good. Bavaria and Italy are still doing really good, but right now Aquitaine's pretty much the rising star, especially because I think they might be able to take all of Iberia, which would be really cool because they don't really supposed to control that area. I really like it when a nation that isn't supposed to control an area does. Thrace is doing really good, which they're Greek. They're not the Byzantines, but I think they could form the Byzantine Empire, so I'm hoping Thrace starts to crumble. Hungary is just still doing horrible. Hungary. Is that Hungary? Or is that Hungary? That's Hungary, right? Am I stupid? Yeah. But Bavaria's gonna keep on battling them. The borders are still really disgusting here, which they're usually not this bad, but they're pretty bad still. And Savoy's been here, but they're not doing anything. But Italy's still doing really good. I think they might be able to unite the peninsula. I would love to see that. It's really good when Italy does that. These guys are still doing surprisingly well. Usually they blow up by now, but hopefully we'll see them do something actually. Besides that, there's no really breakup stars. Transylvania is actually a country that's usually in EU4 that usually sometimes do well. So let's see if they do anything. And then these guys, which are usually the Persians, but they're not Persian, are kind of just chilling here too. Oh, and then also the good old African nations, they fell apart. They were doing so good, but they just collapsed. Not much is happening. Thrace is doing really good, which I hope they don't because they're Greek, but they also have a different religion than the Orthodox, so maybe we'll give them a pass. Hungary is looking ugly, but looking great. Like, you know how like you look ugly some days, but you're like, dang, I also look great? That's like what Hungary's kind of doing. Like, they look fine, but kind of ugly at the same time. And then West Francia, Bavaria, and Aquitaine are still doing really good. The Umayyad are also starting to do pretty good too. But besides that, there's no one. This Swedish nation, but they're not Sweden, but they are Sweden. It's also doing really good. But besides that, nothing else is really happening. We have some breaking developments. The Iberia Empire has collapsed. The Egypts have got their freedom. Egyptians, my bad, not the Egypts. The Egyptians have gotten their freedom, and these guys also got their freedom. ADHD is looking great. Oh, sorry, my bad. ADHID. Sorry, that's my ADHD. That's my problem. Bavaria has also taken over West Francia, so now Bavaria is looking really big and great. Hungary and Thrace are also still doing good. Alba's doing all right still in the British Peninsula. They probably won't unite everything. Aquitaine's still doing really good too, but I really like that the Egyptians got their freedom. That's really good. And Bulgaria is also back. Bulgaria popped up. Unfortunately, Italy collapsed. I'm a big fan of Italy because it's the only country I've been to besides United States, and I am sad that they collapsed. But hopefully we see someone stop Bavaria, because right now they're looking really strong, but most likely that West Francia will get their freedom at some point. That's my guess, but you know, I could be wrong. Why do I even commentate? Yeah, so this nation, Radhai, they got Egypt back, and now they're expanding even further into Turkey, modern-day Turkey, and are actually doing really good. I didn't expect that, and West Francia immediately got their independence from Bavaria. So I say stuff, might as well not, it gets ruined. These guys are doing really good. They're getting this big chunk in Africa. They were doing great before. There's some great people too. Thrace is doing really good. These guys are still doing great. They're not as good as they initially were. I think this chunk in territory in Turkey is actually really good, but besides that, there's no breakout stars. Umayyad are still doing really good. I thought they were gonna like die at some point, but they've come back with a vengeance. And Hungary is also looking very, very mighty. Maybe Poland can do something, but I doubt it. Whoa! Oh no, that's a different country. Okay, the Umayyad has almost completely conquered the Iberian Peninsula, which is kind of cool, but usually kind of unique as well. Ireland's doing pretty good. Croatia took over Hungary, so Hungary is now Croatia. Don't really know why that's happening, but it's pretty cool. Bavaria's doing a little bad. Francia is expanding, and the good old Mongols are here. I think the Mongols are probably going to get stopped by these guys here because they're doing really well, but they're also actually having some trouble with these two nations that got released, so we should see big problems. And ADHD didn't get released. They've been around for a while, but these guys are doing good. They might come into problems with the Mongolians because the Mongolians are really strong, but I don't know if they're strong enough. I think the Mongols will collapse like they usually do. I had one video where they actually didn't collapse, but that's all that's really happening. I still like these guys. These guys are doing really good, but they're probably gonna get crushed by the Mongols as well. It's just ugly. That's all I want to say. This part, it's just ugly, absolutely disgusting. I haven't seen it this bad. This is actually the grossest border gore I've seen in CK3 yet. If the Umayyad didn't form Hispania, it would be even worse, but this is freaking disgusting right here. So the Mongols are super thick. They actually look really good. I really like how they're looking. They're very unified. They're gonna collapse, don't worry about it. Thrace though is doing so good. They're Greek, and they're right where the Byzantines are usually. Nah, this doesn't count. They're not Orthodox. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. But the Umayyads are doing good too. The Umayyads are doing really good. They're actually probably the strongest nation right now, I would have to say. Thrace is doing really good, but the Umayyads are doing insane. They have a lot in Africa. They have the entire Iberian peninsula done. I just conquered this in my own campaign. They pretty much have everything except for Barcelona completely. Aquitaine actually got eaten up, but then they spit Aquitaine back up. West Francia just died. Alba is coming back, so I'm hoping Alba can unite the entire Britannia. That would be very cool. And Bavaria is just looking like they have the entire game. They're literally the same. And Italy's back. That's another thing I want to point out. Italy is back. These dumb frickin' Greeks. Thrace is doing so goddamn good. They're actually huge. They're doing great. Thrace, please, I know you're not the Byzantines, but you're pretty goddamn close. So I need you to fail, or else I'm gonna be super goddamn pissed. I need you to just crumble. Someone stop them. Alba is doing amazing. I love them. It's usually England, getting everything. Ireland's doing really good too, so I think it might be between Ireland and Alba, because Alba's about to take over Wessex, so it's really good. Umayyad's still doing the same. The Mongolians collapsed Do I even have to announce that in videos? I don't think so. They collapse every video. And then there's also some other nations here that are really starting to do good because there's no Byzantines any. These guys as well. There's no really big African nation. These guys look bigger, and that's because I'm using a mod to color in Wasteland, but they're really not that big. And Italy's still there, and Bavaria's still there doing nothing. Same with Bohemia. There's no big breakout stars. Thrace, though, you need to chill. You really need to chill. That's all I gotta say. It's just down to Alba and Ireland. They're the last two left, and I'm gonna be honest, it's usually never this united. It does have a chance to fall apart still, but I think this is really cool. I've never seen Alba in Ireland. I almost never see Britannia form, so if Britannia actually forms, I'll be pretty excited before like the end date. Umayyad's still doing good. Thrace is just doing absolutely insane. Bavaria and Italy just literally kind of the same the entire game, but these guys at Mansuride, gosh, I shouldn't try to pronounce anything. They're doing pretty good too. They just kind of popped up out of nowhere. They're doing really good. They might be able to challenge Thrace. Vladimir was not able to form Russia, unfortunately, so hopefully he can stop Thrace from expanding north because they are just blowing up. It's insane. But the Arabian Empire is also still looking pretty good, but I don't think they're going to expand anywhere. They're actually having some problems with their neighbors. The only place that can really expand is Africa because there's not too many strong nations in Africa. But also over here is a mess like usual. It's always a mess over here. That's why if you see CK3 people, they usually never cover this in like AI videos or anything, just because it's almost always a mess. We are close to the end, and couple nations are doing pretty good. A lot of nations over here where the Byzantines are usually at are doing really good actually. So Thrace is doing really good. This nation Mansured and these guys that start with an F are doing really good. So these three nations are doing extremely well, and they're all like right next to each other, so that's actually pretty cool. Bavaria is actually starting to pick up some pace. They're doing pretty good. They're expanding north and they're getting a whole bunch of land. England and Alba keep on like forming and unforming. It's really weird. Like it's happening every like 10 years. I don't really know what's happening, but the Umayyad now are in the British islands, so that's very weird. And then Umayyads are just doing really good. I think that the Umayyads would actually probably get the win for me if I had to give some of the win, which is also cool because I did a Hispania campaign recently, so that's really cool. But overall, I have to say this is a pretty cool experiment without the Byzantines. I'm going to probably talk a little bit right at the end date at 1453, but it's actually pretty cool to see what happens without the Byzantines. Oh, and wait till you see the religion and culture map. That map looks super cool, and I'll show that at the end. We are at the end date, and I have to say between Thrace and the Umayyad, it's a pretty good for second place. The Umayyad, I have to probably give them the win. They're a little weak right now because they are dealing with like some civil wars and they just have a new ruler, but the Umayyad look great. They took all of the Iberian Peninsula, a lot of North Africa, and most of France, so that's pretty good. And then Thrace, they took Bulgaria and just a whole bunch of territories up here. I have to say the Umayyads is more kind of impressive, I would have to say, because France is usually very powerful. For the fact that they took the north part of Spain and France, and actually usually don't do good in this game, I just said that's pretty impressive. Thrace though, they did pretty good. They look the sexiest. They look huge. I don't think they're gonna break apart anytime soon. They literally have so many kingdom titles underneath their name. They're pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. I have to say Bavaria looks really good too. Sweden and like the Englands and stuff, they just kind of puffered out. Bavaria and Italy kind of came back. I think eventually they would be eaten up. I like that Rum showed up. Rum's pretty cool. These Persian nations down here, and Iberian nation and Egypt, they all fell apart at the end, which is kind of rough. They actually formed the Persian Empire at one point, but they fell apart, unfortunately. But these Indian nations also look pretty cool too, but they probably will fall apart because Indian nations usually do. They do look pretty strong, actually, not gonna lie. I also have to say Africa is looking one of the best ever. This nation down by the Horn of Africa is looking good, and the Mali also look pretty good. This nation looks alright, not too good. A lot of it is just small passes, but these nations, Sao and Mali, look really good. So this is the end of the video. I would have to give it between the Umayyad and Thrace. I can't really tell exactly who because Umayyad just got a new ruler, so they're pretty weak right now. But that's it. So what happens if I destroy the Byzantines? Well, someone has to take their place. Obviously, Thrace was that person, and then apparently the Umayyads would do really good too. Who would have thought? So let's get down to what we are all waiting for. Let's look at the culture map. Religion map, my bad. The religion, I just punched my microphone. The religion map looks really cool in my opinion. We have a lot of Islamic nations spreading a lot. I also have to say the Talotist is really cool. You almost never see the same with this Nordic religion. You usually don't see it late in this game. These religions popped up as really cool. Catholic is really struggling, especially because these Islamic nations are doing really good. If we go to culture, there's still a lot of Greek, which I was trying to avoid, but that Thrace nation is Greek. And then also there's still a surprising amount of French everywhere. Gallic is pretty strong, which is like the northern culture of the British Isles, because I'm pretty sure they are all Gallic. Actually, England is too, but they're just separate kingdoms. But it's a pretty cool looking map, so I would say I recommend removing the Byzantines, because I still think it was a pretty entertaining game, and Thrace didn't just rule the entire time. They picked it up at the end, but for the most part, I thought this Arabian Empire was going to take it all. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And then also there will be a time lapse of the same idea on Friday. So look out for that. That will be on Christmas. Hope you guys have amazing holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. Hope you guys are all staying safe, and see you in the next video. Have a good one. Goodbye. Stay safe.